What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. Got some off-season kind of preview, prediction stuff for you to talk about here today. But first, as always, Jahadi, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Life's good. No complaints. And if it was, you wouldn't listen anyway. So
That's right. I hear you, man. I think that all the time. I do have one complaint for you. I'll get into it in a second. That's the tease here. I'll just do our ad reads first, brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas and BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your summer sports. MLB, golf, UFC, tennis, everything you can think of. Get the latest stats, news, and scores available for your favorite teams. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports, player props, odds, everything you can think of for your favorite sports out there. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, Jahadi, I played in my first men's league game in probably, 15 years last Sunday, and it was a complete and utter shit show. It was just... I'm just going to say this up front. I'm not a good basketball player, right? I know how to play, not super good, but I don't screw anything up for anybody else. I can fit in with good players and not ruin the flow of the game. We had one dude that was his shot selection was like watching Kobe in his final game. Anything inside half court, it was going up. And the guy made his first 3 threes and then probably finished 4 of 17 from 3 for the game. It was... I don't know. He thought he was like Steph at the end of the Olympics, but they did not go in. There were probably 2 other guys that went 0 for 10. My buddy Nick that got me on the team, he's a solid player. He knows how to play, smart, gets the game. But for the most part, it was I don't know. Have you ever seen the Office episode where Michael Scott and Stanley are dribbling above their heads and stuff like that?
right.
That's kind of how I felt out there. The other team probably had, I'd say 25 points worth of run out layups or dunks. It was just an absolute total shit show. And I'm I might have to go back into retirement after one game here just because of that. Ever play on any teams in the summer or anything like that, even just for pickup where it's just so bad you didn't even know what to do out there?
Well, it doesn't sound like it was you.
It wasn't me, but I didn't.
You had an awful team.
I didn't.
Awful teammates that thought they were Kobe and and Steph, and they just shot up So it seemed like it was terrible players who thought they
weren't self-aware. That was the problem.
Terrible. I'm using terrible. Okay. They're your friends, not mine.
Yeah, there you go.
So, you just said the guy shot he was 17 for 4.
I think 4 for 17. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, that'd be we'd be fighting the entire time going up and down. You think I was trash talking the other team the way I would be trash talking my teammates, no. Right? Shoot another shot.
If I knew him a little better, I think I would have gotten to that point. I only know the one guy who got me on the team.
Complete strangers. You're not going to just shoot everything. We here to win, or we here for I see some guys doing that in pickup with my sons play when they play pickup. But I'm thinking, okay, pickup, if you're getting ready for something,
exactly.
Pickup is the best way to challenge yourself. You should be selfish if you're trying to get ready, especially if it's not wins or losses.
Sure.
Especially if you're also adding to the wins.
That's the time to work on it, right?
Right. It's time to put yourself in a lot of different situations you would normally not put yourself in to be able to fight through it. Right. But in your scenario, in your case, this guy wasn't playing for anything or trying to be, he wasn't to go get a trial,
exactly.
Preseason. So, hey, man, you better not shoot another shot.
It was just wild, too, because when one guy does that, everyone else thinks, all right, F it. I got to hoist it up as soon as I get it, too.
Yeah, but it's hot potato now because you don't know when you're going to get the next touch. You don't know if you're going to ever touch the ball.
And that's exactly how I felt. So I went 0 for 3 for the game. I had 2 wide open threes that had every part of the rim and rolled out. But I just I quick shot them because I was if I don't get this up, this is my one opportunity to shoot. And I'm exactly 6 feet tall. The guy I guarded was 6'5", 300 pounds. And I was exactly at elbow height. But I was somehow the tallest player on our team. And there were 7 more games. So we can't ever record these on Monday because I'll just be I'll so depressed after those games.
Yeah. I can only imagine how that feels.
I had a little bit of a thought halfway through.
So who picked the team?
So the way they do it in this league is you can pick up to like a certain amount of people, and then they fill in the rest of the roster with like players from the free agent pool. So 3 of the guys are just total randoms, and that includes the guy who went like 4 of 17 from 3.
So the random were the worst guys.
Yeah, I would say he was the hardest guy to play with of the group. There were a couple guys that weren't great, but they didn't really like hurt anything. But that kid, the guy who took that many shots, probably in high school, to be honest, because his dad was there with him.
Oh man.
So I don't know if they were getting ready for the high school season and thought exactly
Probably.
just what you said. Like, I'm gonna shoot every time in a game situation. But
And his father was there too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure his father's like, hey, you shoot everything.
Exactly. The dad was like cheering him on.
Yeah, all the parent and coach stuff.
Yeah, we like the guy, he's shooting above the break threes while we got people like wide open under the hoop and stuff. And
the parent agent was out there. So
exactly. His dad was negotiating his next NIL deal already. Yeah. All right. Thanks for indulging there. I had to get that out. Needed a little therapy session up front here, but it's a perfect segue because it sort of reminded me of what we might see from the Wizards this season. Is just kind of an underachieving, disjointed collection of people. So part of what we're going to do today is just talk through some predictions and who starts and all that kind of stuff. But first, a little bit of news. Eugene Omoruyi is the first roster casualty here. Josh Robbins of the Athletic was the first person I saw report this, but Omoruyi is expected to just kind of be released at this point and put on waivers realistically. So someone could claim him. If they don't claim him, he could end up back on the Wizards on a 2-way contract because he's still within his first four seasons of NBA play. So I would expect them to try to do that. They have an open 2-way they can kind of use for him. But that means that his $2.2 million he was supposed to make this year that was non-guaranteed, he won't collect on that whole amount. So we're not surprised. We talked about this. He especially looked bad in Summer League. So I think the writing was kind of on the wall there that this guy was not long for the Wizards' actual roster at this point.
Yeah, we're not surprised. I mean, I don't think he's surprised either.
Yeah, probably true.
But I guess so. My question is the timing of it, right? I mean,
yeah, why not right after Summer League?
Yeah, why not right after Summer League, and then for the Wizards' case, but also for Omoruyi's case.
Yeah, true.
If I'm an agent, I want more time to be able to negotiate or have more slot time because the less time I have for my player or less time Omoruyi has, it's going to be hard to find those slots. That interest usually happens early, But, I mean, hopefully he'll land somewhere and land on his feet. But I just wish the Wizards would have just go ahead and did it right after the Summer League. To me, that's more fair to the player.
Is there a chance they did that intentionally so that there'd be nowhere left for him to go but back to the G League team? Or back on the 2-way? Yeah.
Possibly, but I don't see even a reason why would you do that? I mean,
just somebody
he would be a great G League player, but if I'm not grooming him for anything,
right?
And I mean, with his age, it's not like I'm looking forward to him to groom and come back. So why would I put him in a scenario such as that?
I think there's a certain value to having like a couple responsible adults on the G League team that you trust, especially if you're going to play some of your like young guys there. Like I would say normally it's guys that like get the assignment, but Omoruyi also kind of shot every time he touched it. So it was like, is he actually going to take touches away from Keyshawn George and the guys you want to develop? So I don't know. Maybe it's not the best fit after all, but
I don't see a reason for them to hold him back, just for a G League option. I mean, in the end of the day, G League is about development and exposure. So you want the guys that actually you have a possibility of developing and getting to be there. Other than the guy you've seen, you tested it out, you know how it works. What's the purposes of going back through the same cycle again?
I think the other thing you could do with the 2-way, though, is if you do get desperate and there's injuries or whatever, you do feel confident enough that you can play him in a few minutes. So he gets 50 games, he could play up with the Wizards. So he could be kind of like your break in case of emergency guy for you. But again, like I would only be doing that if he's someone who can't find another landing spot. Like if you want to give him somewhere, cushion the fall, cutting him or whatever, like I'm not mad at that. But I think I'd be okay just using the spot, like you said, on another young guy that may actually play into the future of the team here.
Yeah,
Either way, wish
I
him the
just
best.
disagree with the timing. It
Yeah.
may be something with the regulations. I'm not sure, but I just disagree with the timing. Like, give that man at least an option. I mean, he didn't fit the Wizards, but he's a hard worker. He can be effective. He can give somebody 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Or like
Hustle
give
play.
somebody a spark off the bench. In the right fit.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I think that's a good point of maybe there was something contractual there where if you waited past a certain deadline, maybe some more of the money guarantees or something like that they kind of forced their hand now. But this is the weirdest part in the summer. They're not seeing him play right now. They're probably not all playing together. So there's nothing he did in the last month to kind of like sour them to him. So this is something they've known they were probably going to do for a month, like you said. Yeah, it's kind of weird. All right, we'll talk about it in a minute. They're down to 16 players on the official roster. They have to get down to 15. So that means one more person is out. So we'll circle back to that. But just, I don't know, let's kind of run down who's actually on this roster at this point. So we've got Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Bilal Coulibaly, Malcolm Brogdon, Jonas Valanciunas, Corey Kispert, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, Jared Butler, Rashawn Holmes, Marvin Bagley, Keyshawn George, Johnny Davis, Anthony Gill, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and Sadiq Bey. And then your two-way contracts right now are Tristan Vukcevic and Justin Champagnie. So that's 18 guys. Like I said, they've got to get the formal roster down to 15 here. So someone has to go. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. I would say you're 3 guys that are probably sitting there a little nervous about what happens right now. Anthony Gill is a veteran that they seem to like. I don't think they would do that given that they just re-signed him, but it's not unthinkable. Patrick Baldwin Jr., not really been that impressive so far at any stop along the way since high school. So he's probably sweating some stuff. And then Johnny Davis, you owe him a lot of money. So if you cut him, I mean, not a lot of money, but it's $6 million of dead money if you release him. So he'd be the most expensive, cap casualty of the group there. And he's a former lottery pick. So maybe that keeps him around for the rest of the season or as trade filler or whatever. But my gut is it's one of those 3 guys. I guess, Jahadi, what would you do with that move?
You can't really move Davis. Can't really move Johnny Davis. I mean, we've seen them kind of make some moves like this before where they just lost a lot of money getting rid of a guy and they still had to pay it. So we don't want to make that move again.
Yep, agreed.
Gill, like you said, they just re-signed him. I mean, in one instance, you kind of wonder why did they re-sign him, but then in another instance, you like you say, he's like I said earlier, he's just one of those good locker room guys, those good people presence guys that you always need that red light that keeps that personality that keeps the locker room even keel and keeps it kind of light, and not because he's just naturally that way. So Gill's the type of guy that's naturally built to, once he leaves the bench, he's going to be offered possibly a coaching job. He's naturally a part of the organization or the front office or the coaching staff. He's that liaison type of guy. Naturally, though, not because he's a mole or anything. Yeah, so I don't see them moving him. So to me, it comes down to Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Yep, that's where I'm at too. He just hasn't shown us anything. Like, this is a guy, I mean, you saw him in high school and on the AAU circuit. Like, he was a top 10 recruit, if not number 1 for part of his high school career for a reason. And just none of that's translated. I don't know if it was the bad college season has just killed his confidence or whatever, but if you're a stretch big who doesn't shoot, it's really tough for teams to kind of figure out what to do with you. And athletically, he's like not great at the 4, but he's not big enough to really play the 5. It's, we talk about like hybrid, versatile, switchable players, but he's really kind of like tweener in like the old school negative way. And I think that's even more reason where if you're someone like that, you have to shoot it. And just without those going in, I don't think he's shown enough to be the guy to keep. So it's unfortunate, but
to me, it's just like he doesn't have that one thing that you can say specifically like, okay, well, he definitely get us boards. Not really. He doesn't do that like defense. He's only okay with that stretch. Not, if he stretched the floor, sometime make it, sometime. So my thing is, it's like I can't pinpoint a reason to keep him. Like, he doesn't give us that one thing. To me, with a player, you got to give one thing that better be amazing, or it has to be two really good things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really pinpoint that with Ball.
Yep. No, I'm totally with you. And Joe Swam pointed out in the chat that he hasn't even really been that great in the games that he's played in the G League with the Capital City Go-Go either. So it's like, it'd be one thing if you were dominating there and we just hadn't seen it totally translate yet, and you wanted to give him more time to get comfortable or whatever the case may be. But he's also another guy that if you released him and no one picked him up, he would be eligible to sign a two-way contract if that's a guy that they wanted to keep. He is a little younger. Like, maybe that makes more sense than Omoruyi, and you want to give him some time to see if he gets comfortable and the shot develops or, whatever. But similarly, I think I would have seen enough of this experiment personally to not feel bad about him moving on to his next destination, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. With that in mind, let's kind of talk through the starting five here a little bit. You've got Jordan Poole seems like a lock at this point. Kyle Kuzma seems like a lock at this point. I would think Jonas Valanciunas is a lock at this point to start at center. It's either him, Bagley, or Holmes. So I got to imagine they just signed him with that role in mind, would be my guess. And then I hope that Bilal Coulibaly is in the starting lineup. Maybe not a guarantee, but I think most fans would like to see that. So then you're really down to two people for one starting spot, and that's either Malcolm Brogdon, who you just got from Portland in the Denny trade, or Corey Kispert, who's your incumbent stretch shooter. I actually kind of like Corey coming off the bench, so personally, I think I would go with Brogdon. Like, if you're going to make Poole like kind of your on-ball creator, I like the idea of Brogdon being like just this solid stabilizing presence next to him that can handle the ball a little bit. Whereas like you can't really give Corey any like creation duties for other people. So that's kind of how I'd go about it. Where am I wrong here, Johnny? Anybody you do differently, or would you go Brogdon and Kispert and bring Coulibaly off the bench? I think that's another option, I guess.
Well, to me, I need somebody who's naturally just going to stretch the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because without Kispert on the floor starting,
yeah, that's fair.
You don't have the defense could just sink in the entire time, no matter how good the players are. So
that's fair.
Kispert has to be out there somewhere just off of just to stretch the floor. You have to. He wins that, not because he's a great defensive player. Not every team has to have somebody who just stretch. So he wins off GP pretty much. So now, what does that affect? That may affect either Brogdon or Coulibaly's position. So like you say, Poole and Kuzma's a lot. To me, Valanciunas is a lot right now. So now that's three.
And then if Kispert's in there, you're down to basically Brogdon or Coulibaly for that last starting spot.
So now, to me, you got to have defensive presence, but also, to me, Brogdon's probably up there. Brogdon may come off the bench because you need Kispert to spread the floor. So
I'm not mad at that. I think he could kind of stabilize your second units. He could also maybe show more scoring chops with bench units as well, and hopefully that helps.
Brogdon can shoot as well.
Yeah, he's a shooter.
Right? Yeah. So Kispert, I consider him sometime more spot up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brogdon can maybe create
Brogdon
a little more.
Is more universal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I went back and forth on that one. I think I would start Brogdon at least early in the year, especially if you're trying to feature him to maybe trade him. Maybe that looks better if you start him, or maybe you think he'll get better numbers off the bench, and that's the way to do it. So
I guess that's what you're looking for. Are you looking for a good unit to try to actually win some games?
Probably not, would be my guess.
Like if that's the case, but if I'm Kispert, now think about it, Kispert already has been used to coming off the bench, and he's been doing a good job of doing it. So it wouldn't be hard to say, hey, we're just going to keep you in that same position, right? But now if I'm a coach and I'm saying I got to spread this floor, and I have to have somebody who pretty much, been accurate for me, it's kind of no question. You got to have somebody that Kispert just, a penetrate pitch type of guy who catch it and put it up.
I think this is one thing, like, me and other fans kind of don't think about sometimes. There are some guys that probably, like, this was a thing for Ish Smith in Washington. He preferred to come off the bench. Even if he came in at the first time out, some guys just feel a little more comfortable, seeing a couple minutes of game time. So maybe between Brogdon or Kispert, there's one of them that actually feels better in that situation. So I don't know. You ever seen that where a player is like, Coach, I would really prefer not to start this game, even
Yeah.
if, and
Some
or
players play better off the bench because they can get a feel for the game,
Mhm.
right? Some players, I like to watch the game, how the game is moving, how's the flow, how is this player playing this player? Okay, now when I come in, I've seen the game, I have a feel for it because it's been going on. I understand the pulse of the game.
Mhm.
When you're starting, you're trying to get a feel of this particular game, and also like, but coming off the bench, to me, when I was coming off the bench and playing in front of another center, right,
Mhm.
my first 2 or 3 years, I can also see how the team we're playing, the defensive player would play that center. Also, what the guy that was on our team, what all the possibilities that he was missing out on because he didn't get this. Oh, okay. Then I also could see if he did get the ball and did something the coaches didn't like, I could see their reaction like, okay, so let me
I know not to
let me
do
do
that.
the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's all of these little bits of information you can go out
Mhm.
and say, okay, well, I could see what the coaches were displeased with.
Yeah.
So let me go out and then please the coaches right away now, right? So it's just so much off information, and I think a lot of players like coming off the bench more is
Mhm.
because they can gather the information and get the pulse of the game. So now Kispert, in sense though, he started the year before, and then he didn't start this year,
Mhm.
and so he came off the bench. When you a starter, sometimes you do want to sometimes get back to that
Being a
position.
star. Yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, in times of contract negotiation,
Mhm.
a starter can always use more negotiation, get more money than somebody just coming off the bench,
It's true.
right?
Yeah.
Unless you're Andre Iguodala, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That can,
An all-time sixth man or something.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to get paid the same.
It's true.
No matter how you can put up the same amount of numbers.
And Corey is up for a contract extension here,
Yeah,
so
well, yeah. If that's the case, I want to, he want to be a starter.
I'd be trying to bust Brogdon's ass in practice every day, just to,
Yeah.
hey, coach, uh, have you ever seen it where a guy didn't want to start and a coach was like, no, you're going to start. Like, we need you in this group. Because there was a year for Maryland a couple years ago under Mark Turgeon where uh, it was Aaron Wiggins and somebody else. I want to say maybe Daryl Morcell both preferred to come off the bench, and they were two of the four best players on the team by like a pretty high margin. And they were like, no, not only do you both not get to come off the bench, you're both going to start for most of the year. And it was like this weird thing where they both mentioned multiple times they preferred coming off the bench and didn't get to.
Yeah, that's weird. I've seen a lot of scenarios.
Mhm.
I never seen a guy who didn't want to start. I seen a guy who kind of felt disgruntled, like the team or the coach did him wrong at the beginning of the season. Now the
Mhm.
coach needs him,
Oh, yeah. Got to
and
be
now
kind
he
of
said,
petty
"Oh,
about it.
since you need me,
Yeah.
I'm when
I'm
I
gonna screw
wanted
you
to
over.
do it, it was my time. You didn't want me, but now you need me. You need me to come." Like, and I seen a player kind of push back on that. It's like, no, I'm
Mhm.
not. Right, which is silly,
Yeah,
because they regretted that in the end. But
sure.
also, I seen some crazy stuff like a player didn't want to play at all
Okay.
the entire season. What?
Was he hurt or just
Man, like he got
I'm
his
good
check.
collecting my check?
He
Yeah.
got his check, and he was like, "I'm done." Well, you never liked basketball. Like we had a
Yeah.
guy on the Wizards named Lorenzo. Long back to my day,
Okay.
man. He got his check, got his contract, and he just played hurt the rest of the time out.
He really
And
must
he
not have
get
played because I
practice.
don't even remember who this is.
I forgot his last name. His name was Lorenzo. You can look it up.
All right, I'm gonna pull it up
Look
while
at
we're going here.
my first 2 3 years.
Okay. Let's see.
Just he didn't want to play at all. Now then he ain't playing practice and kill. So we were like, oh, you can play.
Yeah, right. That's
Oh
even
no,
worse.
Coach, every time he had a new injury every day, he'd come up with something.
That's wild to me. Like, just I don't know. Once you're already paid, like you know, what's the pressure? Just go out and hoop.
And wouldn't buy a new car. Wouldn't go out.
Lorenzo Williams out of
There you
Stetson
go.
University. Yeah. Wow.
And
Okay.
it had the nerve to be like, young fella, let me show you what you're doing wrong. You gonna show me anything?
Yeah. Why don't you go out on the court and show me?
Yeah.
Wow. He played a long time in the NBA. He played well. Actually, Washington was basically the end of his NBA career, so that sounds right.
Yeah,
so he
was
missed
done.
all
By
of.
the time he got to Washington, he decided I'm done with basketball.
Yeah, he missed all of 88, 89 with a knee injury. So that year he played with you was the last year he played. So he must have just been like, "Hey, I'm cooked." So it says he played he appeared in 8 games that season. So they must have forced him to come in off the bench. He played 79 or 76 total minutes that whole season.
Oh, they would have to make him play.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, shout out Lorenzo Williams, wherever you are this point in your life, out of Stetson University.
Yeah.
Circling back to the Brogdon thing, Joe again had a good comment in the chat. Maybe Brogdon comes off the bench, takes some of the pressure off Bub Carrington to be the sole creator in the second unit. That's a good point. I actually think Jared Butler is going to get a decent amount of minutes early here as just like a stabilizing veteran presence. He's not really a veteran. He's still young, obviously, but like Butler, I think you can trust to go out there and just like be a solid, bring the ball up the court kind of thing. So seeing Butler and Carrington play some minutes together early or start Butler, not start him, but like Butler is more in the rotation early and Carrington kind of like works his way in until those two swap over the course of the season. Something like that. But I think you've seen enough from Butler that like you can give him the ball and he won't like screw things up too much and kind of hurt you.
Yeah, Butler would be solid.
Yeah.
But Carrington would be.
You got to play him though.
Dynamic. He could end up being dynamic. Mm-hmm. And so what I see eventually is Butler's going to have to find his way after a while. Mm-hmm. Because Carrington is just
he's coming.
Player. He's coming. Yeah. And he's just playing ball. Mm-hmm. Right. And those type of players, either they're really, really good because you can't control them. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like Anthony Edwards. You don't want to pigeonhole him too much. Hey, go out there and do what you do. Mm-hmm. That's Carrington. And then you try to figure out, okay, like how can we fit things around them? Sure. And with a player like that, they're gonna be always breathing down your neck. So you can't do anything with Poole. He's gonna be there. So Butler's he's the one to say, okay, I got to really be able to be a coach's point to just be trusted.
Yep. I would be watching everything Anthony Gill does and trying to be the next, solid guy. I mean, I think Butler's a much better player than that, but just like hey, I do the right things. I'm a good teammate. I play defense.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Carrington, like, he obviously looked pretty good most of the time in summer league. I do think there'll be some growing pains, and they showed last year with Koulibaly. Like they're not like afraid to bring these guys along slowly. So I'm just throwing that out there to Wizards fans is like, if Bub's not getting 25 minutes a night from day one, like don't be shocked by that. They might kind of ease him into this as well. Like I said, Butler gets some minutes, and then eventually they probably try to trade Brogdon. I hope this year they're more successful at trading their veteran guys. So maybe when Brogdon leaves, you can get more, Butler, Carrington together backcourt minutes or something like that, the second half of the year or something too. All right. So locks in the rotation here. I think there's like 7 guys.
So my bad.
No, please go.
You'd rather keep Butler than Brogdon?
I don't think Butler has much trade value at this point as like a non-guaranteed guy, unless he has a really good year. Whereas Brogdon, he's a 15-point per game scorer, with some postseason pedigree and stuff like that. So I just think teams are going to be more willing to give you something in exchange for him. And he is an older guy and he is injury prone. So it's like, maybe he could go back to Boston or somewhere and you can get 2 second-round picks for him or something like that, just to give them a little extra insurance off the bench, or, Milwaukee or one of these teams that could use like a solid floor spacing, like combo guard.
Yeah.
I'd be cool keeping Brogdon forever because I think he makes sense
To
a
me,
lot.
I would consider keeping Brogdon too.
Yeah, if you're not going to get much in return for him, like that's one where I'm like, I don't think you need to just flip him for nothing because I think that's like the perfect like veteran mentor for Carrington because like there's like both strong, sturdy guys, decent size. They're not big for the two, but they're big for the one. But they're not like they can play the two. And like Brogdon is good defensively because like he's not bursty, but he's like really smart positionally and he's strong. And I think that's really like the blueprint for Bub. So that's like the right mentor for me if I want Bub to be the piece I think they want Bub to be in the organization.
Right. I think Brogdon is the thing when I'm looking at our point guards. I think Brogdon is just our solid piece point guard that you always need one of those solid point guards.
Yep.
You know, and I think Brogdon is just that one solid point with us, a solid player can play that one or two. You know, and then hopefully when Sadiq Bey come back, he can be another one of those solid players for us.
That's true. I mean, they'll look at this though. Like Brogdon is 31; he'll be 32 by the end of the season. Like, I think if they can flip him for something, they'll probably try to do it. But he's another guy. Like, if you're not going to get much, if someone offers you like a second round pick, I'd tell them like thanks, but no thanks. You know, I could go buy one of those with the salary I saved from cutting Omoruyi or whatever. Like, it's just not worth it. All right, so Poole, Kuzma, Koulibaly, Brogdon, Valanciunas, Kispert, Sarr. That's 7 guys. I think we both think Carrington is definitely in the rotation early. So that's 8 guys. You know, if you have like a general 10-man rotation here, that's kind of 2 spots for a couple different guys. I think Butler gets in here some, and then that really leaves one of Rashawn Holmes or Marvin Bagley. To
Bagley
me,
definitely in. I mean, you got to put Bagley in. That's too much energy, too much. So Bagley, I think he goes in. I don't know. I don't know why would you put Vucevic on a 2-way. I mean, I get it, but he can still be very effective for us.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know,
he's another one. I think like that's a guy
that between Bagley and Vucevic for that
last spot.
That last spot.
Yeah, and someone will be hurt at some point, so I think you can get the Vucevic type players in there as well. Since he can only get the 50 games, they might be kind of like judicious with those early and like not play him a ton. And then when somebody gets traded out, maybe that's when you kind of like turn him loose. But yeah, I'm with you on Bagley. Like he was good when he played. The problem is he only played 25 games for the Wizards and I think another 20 or whatever for Detroit. So
are you just talking about him being injury prone?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think he's a guy that you either want to see if he's young enough, he can do something for you long term, or can he stay healthy enough to feature him and flip him for something from somebody?
Is it the same injury?
No, not really. It's just like a lot of like, there's been like some soft tissue stuff. Like it's never been like, hey, he tore an ACL. Not that I remember, at least. It's just a lot of like, you know, kind of like lingering little stuff. So
I'm curious to know if it's the same injury. If it's not the same injury, is it the same area?
That's a good point. I do remember a lot of like lower body stuff.
But like if it's an elbow one day, it's a shoulder one day, a knee the other day, an ankle. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But if the same thing that's area that's reoccurring, then you have to be like, okay.
Yeah.
It may not be able to last.
This one last year was a knee injury. So it's like at the end of the season again. So he's had a couple just different things, knee once, ankle another time. There was a back injury a couple of times. He missed a few games with that. Cut like a half dozen times with ankle stuff. Hand for a while, knee again, ankle again, shoulder again, groin again, hand again, calf again, wrist, foot, thumb, knee, back again. Like my guy's made out of paper mache, I think. Like that. That's tough.
Or he can't play through anything.
Yeah. He might be pulling a Lorenzo Williams on us. Who knows?
Well, yeah, you're doing a Lorenzo. Yeah, well, it's a difference. I think Lorenzo did not want to play. Yeah. I don't know if Bagley understands is this the NBA. You always going to be injured. You're always going to be hurt.
Yep.
Only thing that stops one injury is another injury. That's more important. Yep. Now, it's what you can play through.
Sure.
Is Bagley one of those guys that can actually play through things?
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody's on that court is injured, especially by half mid-season.
Sure.
You're watching all injured players.
Mm-hmm.
Some sustain and say, all right, I'm playing through this every day. Let me get treatment, PT. Mm-hmm. Then some say, I'm injured, so I'm not playing. Let me sustain. You know, because some people say, okay, let me sustain my career. But sometimes that actually works the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, every time you hear that, my back, my this, my that, like, you got to be able to play.
Yeah. Yeah, none of those seemed like catastrophic. You know, he missed 50 games because he tore an ACL or something.
But
it's
a
a
heat
lot of
pack, man. I mean, you ever seen those
pains.
guys? You seen those guys on the bench wrapped up with all type of stuff, looking like the Michelin Man before they walk in the game. But
gotta do it.
Those are guys that saying, I'm playing. I can choose to sit and not play. Mm-hmm. I'm going to continue playing through this because I love the game. I love playing the game. So I don't know if that's a situation that Bagley is, you know, conflicting with or not.
Mm-hmm. You hear this sometimes sometimes with big men, they don't love the game as much as little guys because some guys play basketball just because they're tall or whatever. To me, like Bagley is too skilled. Watching him at Duke was like actually one of my favorite college players of the last 10 years because he just obliterated people at the rim with touch and like finesse but power if he needed to. Like he also looked like he was having fun. So I don't buy into the you know, maybe he's just collecting a check kind of thing. Like I don't think he's one of those guys. I think it's what you just said of like, maybe it's a little bit of like millennial, you know, like coddling here, a little bit of like someone needs to tell him just like nut up and hey bro, like you got to power through. So maybe that's something he can grow and mature into. And
I mean, you just ran through all those injuries. You know, it's a difference between being injured and being hurt.
Hurt, exactly right. Yeah, those sounded like hurt and not injured.
Some of them sound like hurt. And a lot of guys don't know the difference. Mm-hmm. Like to me, it's different. But like John Thompson used to always say, "You like, Coach? What's wrong with you?" He'll ask, "Oh, I'm sick, Coach. What's going on? I have a cold." He'd be like, "A cold? When did having a cold start being sick?"
Right.
Yep. Like a cold is not being sick. A cold is just a cold to me. Yep. You know, that's the
power through it. Yeah.
Sick is when you have pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's something different. So these guys have to understand the difference between the two. And I don't, like you say, these millennial and these younger guys, they're like, well, it may be, I may be hurt, but I don't want it to grow into an injury.
Exactly. Yep.
So and once you teach them that, like, hey, you got to be able to sustain. So you don't want to push something that can make it worse. Nah, that's not how it goes. Mm-hmm. When we played, everything was an injury. We just played through it. You got to keep going because, I mean, in the end of the day, it's just a regular season is 80-something games. You have to learn how to play through things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no way anybody stays healthy that entire length plus the preseason games and hopefully plus playoffs. It's just not. It's not possible. I do wonder sometimes if like there's some agent influence here with some of this too of like, hey, maybe sit this one out and we'll catch you the next time. But if you're Bagley, it's enough of a thing now where this is going to start affecting your next contract.
You don't have the luxury.
Exactly. You got to power through. This is the year to do it. Show everybody that, hey, like
now, knee injuries, that's different.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I mean, even me, I powered through knee injuries and I was taking all type of horse tranquilizers.
Right. And in retrospect, you probably wish you hadn't, right? Like it's, or at least some
in
of them.
retrospect, I wish I would have gotten another opinion, a second opinion, and went through to a different doctor, not the team doctor. In retrospect,
that's right.
If I went through another doctor and not the team doctor, then I would have to, because it ended up hurting me throughout my entire career after that because I went to a doctor that was 70-something years old. That was just, when you go to a doctor like that, no matter what,
get back out there, here's some ibuprofen. And
well, it just his modern medicine and a younger doctor's modern medicine is different.
That's true.
The modern approach. And so you know, and then when it's a team doctor, I just hate to say it, you know, stay away from team doctors. If they with the team, they're just gonna hurry up and push you back out there, right? So that's what so it wasn't so much, you know, it just I wish I knew the right procedure. That's why you tell you guys, hey man, get your own doctor that you trust,
Smart.
that you know it, and usually it's the doctor that you found in college.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, you got a rapport there, and team trust him, and you know that college coach who you trust him.
College say, hey, go to the university hospital. Whatever doctor that was, keep him.
Okay, I like that. That's good advice. I don't know, Bagley, if he's going back to Duke, I gotta think there's probably some good doctors around there he could find. Yeah. So I'm with you, Bagley. At least give him a shot, right? Like, see if he can go out there, stay healthy. And to me, Holmes is like, all right, if you trade Valanciunas, then you break him out, kind of thing. Like, he's 31 years old, I think. Like, it is what it is. But Bagley, he's 25. Like, there's maybe a chance of him, you know, being something. And then Keyshawn George, we've talked about this. I think he's going to spend a lot of time in the G League this year, which I'm totally fine with. Gill's not going to play. Sadiq Bey is hurt. Vucevic probably gets some G League run early. And then you got Johnny Davis. I mean, that's it. You know, where does he crack the rotation here? If you know, like, I just don't see a place where it happens. And can you send the guy back for the fourth season to go play for the Capital City Go-Go again? Like, that's tough. I mean,
I just feel like we have too much hope of guys cracking the rotation that haven't cracked it by now.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't cracked it by your second year a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of over.
You're not going to crack it.
Yeah, so this is actually his third year. I keep aging him and giving him like a fourth year all the time. So this is his third season. I'm with you. Like, I got to think the writing's on the wall. They didn't draft him. You know, that just time to probably part ways and move on somehow. So if you trade somebody, if you could throw him in on the trade, you know, maybe that's the way to do it.
Like certain players who say, okay, it may take them 3 years to really get into it. But even then, you're going to see him on the floor. Like Sarr, maybe he struggled his first 2 years. You know, hopefully not. And I'm just hypothetically speaking. So I don't want to wish that on Sarr. But if he does, you're still going to ride with him and work with him to that third year because he's that player. Certain players, you don't get that chance to keep sticking. They're like, he's lucky he's still here. You know, you don't get that chance to keep sticking around and try to crack the surface over and over again. After the second year, you haven't done it, and you're not that caliber guy.
It says a lot too. Like, I think you've got enough veteran teammates here that try to say the right things and prop up the young guys. I don't think I've heard a single one of these dudes say, you know, who's looked good this summer is Johnny. Like, usually that comes before that guy, if he is about to pop, finally pops. Like, in year 3, you're like, hey, you know, who's taking some steps? It's Davis. Like, you know, he's been looking good. Like, you don't hear any of that. And I haven't seen him in any of these videos working out with the other guys. I haven't seen much of anything about or from him. Like, not that workout videos are all that telling, but it is like just like comforting to see a few of them be posted with him in the background or something at least. And you've got all the like Rico runs out in LA, and like you just never see, you know, you got Gafford was out there last year and stuff dunking on people. Like, I just once like to see like, oh, Johnny's out there hooping, and you know, like you just don't see it. And that's kind of discouraging to me as well.
Yeah. I'm sure he's putting in work.
I'm sure. I would just
I don't. I can't see him not putting in work this summer.
I'd just like to see him with his teammates putting in work. Yeah. Like,
you know, he probably just say, let me get one trainer, just get this gym, and we work on everything. You know?
Yeah. But for a guy like that just hasn't gotten game reps, like obviously he needs to build up the skills because that's part of the challenge. But playing with some of these better dudes in the summer, I think would go a long way for someone like him too. Even just build some confidence back up, maybe something, you know, you get a couple buckets on a James Harden in a summer league, you know, game kind of setting, like, or summer pickup run. Like, I don't know. It's weird that I just don't see anything about it.
You can't just, A lot of guys just get with a trainer and say, "This is my year. I gotta do this. I'm just getting with my trainer, work on all my skills, and get better and better, and come back with a better game or this and that." But
Sure.
you can only study for the test so long before you start taking it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You got to go out there and start taking that test and testing it out against the best.
Yeah. There's been some kind of videos posted on like Jordan Poole's social media and things like that of him organizing some of the guys to get together for some pickup runs together. And specifically, like Sarr has been shown like actually dunking the ball. So it's good to know that he can do that still. So we've seen a little bit of those kinds of clips of pick and rolling with Poole. And kudos to Poole for getting that together and kind of being the one to spearhead that and bring dudes in. And I think those things helped. I mean, Jahadi, like when you would play with teammates and stuff in the summer, is that a chance to like build some chemistry and build some rapport, especially with the new guys?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about DC.
Lost your audio there for a second. Gotcha. I got you. Oh, no, I can't. Be a little mute button above your thing that you can click there.
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you.
Yeah. Then my mic I don't know what happened. So one thing about, especially in the summertime, staying around DC instead of leaving, man, it's just runs everywhere. And all the overseas guys and the Wizards will open up the gym, and you would have best runs right there in the practice.
Actually, I think I want to say I maybe saw they were playing in LA, but I may have I don't think it was here in DC, but I don't know for sure where they were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about when I was there.
No, I'm with you. I'm curious where these guys at. Like, I don't know if Poole brought him to wherever he lives or
Poole brought him. Okay. Oh, really?
I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah. See, the difference is now it's always one player they talk to and be like, "Hey, the team don't want to call these guys and say, hey, we need you to come in this summer and
you need a leader to do it, right?
So it's always good to have one of the players that they really. So you know, it's always players. Hey, man, we running up here. You know, and the team say, hey, it's open. It kind of motivates one of the main players to do it. But if Poole brought him, say, hey, we out here in LA, you know, that's pretty much him taking the initiative himself, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was hard to tell like what the leadership was like with him last year because he was dealing with all his own stuff. So I think this is a really good first sign of here's my full year in Washington. I got to get a little confidence at the end of the year. Maybe this is the start of kind of the bounce back, for Poole. So I like that.
I don't know about most of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was frustrated with Poole throughout.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's tough.
But what I saw with Poole at the end of the year when they switched him to point, I really liked what I saw. And if
a lot more encouraging.
If he feels like I feel about his game, and he's saying, okay, now I know where I fit.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm comfortable now where I fit with the team, that throws out a lot of questions. Now let me really work on this. Now I know what I'm working on instead of just being a wild, just doing anything. I'm now more comfortable. Now I'm more eager to come back and do that same thing. Mm-hmm. Right now, now that leadership can come out because you don't have all those other things that you have to worry about anymore. I mean, you got to realize he went through a Shaq and a Fool session, went to sitting on the bench, not starting. He went through a lot. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna just have to realize how much stuff was going through his head after all that. Even though he looked like he kept his composure, but it's impossible. Chill's really kind of finding a role, and really being effective at the role that they found for him. To me, now it's all this full steam ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something to build on, right? Like you can go into this year a little more hopeful and excited. And I don't think if he plays the whole year last year, like he started the first third half of the season, whatever, I don't think we see him doing this summer. Like it's just easier for you to be like, all right, I can be a leader on this team when I've come out and shown like, okay, now you all saw what I'm going to do this year. Like, there's a jumping off point for him, I think, that allows him to kind of be a little more assertive going into this year and get your swagger back a little bit too. And I'm with you there. All right. Of the young guys here, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, geez, if I just said that wrong. Maybe Patrick Baldwin Jr. if he sticks around. That's really kind of it. I guess Vucevic as well here too. Any of those guys that you would prefer to see get minutes in the G League versus not play on the Wizards roster? Like we both think Carrington's going to play on the main squad, so I'll take him out of it. But for me, if it's Keyshawn George and Tristan Vucevic, just for the main purposes here, I want them to play a lot of go-go minutes early. Seeing some amount of time on the bench with the Wizards is helpful for both of those guys, but they're both pretty raw still. So I just wanted to see them play and like get some reps and continue to grow. So like a little bit of both would be nice.
I would say Keyshawn. So Vucevic's game does not fit G League to me.
Okay.
Right. It's more of a European style game. Mm-hmm. He can be effective. I don't know if he gets better there.
Sure. Okay. That's right.
He gets better in the NBA because he has a European style game. And now a European style game actually works in a good system in the NBA.
He'll fit in better around other better players and
exactly. So to me, it's useless to put him on a two-way, or it's useless for him to play any G League games.
Okay.
Right. You have to now say, okay, I understand them. Let's start creating a little bit of things around them a little bit, because what happens is it opens up everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you just watch Serbia, in the USA games, just everybody was wide open because they kept playing so much off that top of the key center that it just opened everything up. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's kind of how you use him, because he can pop, he can pass, he can do a lot of Jokic things.
Yep, I'm with you.
So the G League, I just don't see the G League on that type of
standing around watching
standard to help him out at all.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I'm looking at, okay, let me rub my hands together a little bit, because we can create something here, because you need a center who can do all those things, because then you can run a good system. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking they can utilize him way more there, on the bench and in the games a lot more than they seem like they want to.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Hopefully it's the same thing with Koulibaly of last year. Like by the second half of the year, I want to see him in games, no matter what the record is, what the situation is. Like that's the time. All right, just kind of closing up with the last question here. Nat asked if Kyle Kuzma will put up better fantasy stats this season because he might be asked to rebound more. I don't think either of us pay that much attention to fantasy basketball, but just in general, do you think Kuzma will have to pick up some of the rebounding slack now that guys like Denny have moved on and things like that?
Yeah. And I think he will. I think Kuzma now is saying, all right, what's the next step for Kyle Kuzma? When you get to that point, you got all the money, you got the contracts, so you're a type of player like Kuzma. Last thing you're going to want to do is take a step back.
Sure.
So
you got to add something here, right?
You have to add something, right? Is it going to be effort? To me, Kuzma now becomes, for the Wizards, what LeBron was for USA basketball. If that makes sense.
Like solid table setting guy, kind of control the game a little bit.
Right. He has to become that guy. I think that's what more you're going to see, what type of Kuzma you're going to see this year. Because he said, look, I'm on the Wizards, for nothing wrong, but not a team that we're looking to win right now. We're not looking to be a playoff team right now. Mm-hmm. What can I do to stand out and keep my value high, not only with the Wizards but the NBA.
Yeah.
Right.
And it makes him more tradable too if he could be that player, as opposed to no one needs him to come in and score 25 a game. Like that's just not what they'll want.
So he's gonna have to come with some extra with his game and something. And sometimes it's just more like it's more being more solid. It's being 10 times the effort. So when you bring that type of thing, then you're gonna end up getting more rebounds, right? I'm going to now be the guy that leads the charge of just being an enforcer where everybody has to now follow my energy, right? Remember that when Melo, toward the mid to latter parts of his career, he started rebounding like crazy and yelling, "Get the fuck out!" Like he was yelling.
He carried over to the Olympics and stuff too.
Yeah,
like,
he would yell at his teammates like, "Just mind." That's that mental thing that's saying, okay, I got to keep growing. I got to keep. And so I think if Kuzma I feel like Kuzma's going to take on that mentality this year because it's kind of natural.
I love that. His first year, I thought he rebounded a lot better than he has since. And I thought he defended better 2 years ago by far than he did last season. So I'm with you. Put all those things back together now. That's a pretty complete player. So I think the Wizards would be happy with that. So great question, Nat, and shout out to her. Last day of grad school for her. So always love to shout out Wizards fans doing good things. So very cool. Jahadi, I think that's kind of all I got here today. Anything you want to leave us with?
No, man, I'm good, man. Always.
All right. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Preview of where we see some of these guys. We'll have more to talk about here in the coming weeks. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button for us. The subscribe button is always important as well. And there's the little notifications thing if you want this to ping your phone when we're going live. So you can follow along. That's always important. And if you want to leave us an iTunes review, we always appreciate those as well. And we'll read those on the show anytime we get one. So thanks for doing that. As always, we're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.